planes at altitude do not fall out of the sky. That is the starting point of any discussion about what happened to this aircraft. In the normal course of aviation, once a plane reaches its altitude, it is at the safest part of its flight. The engines are not stressed, it is tootling along, as indeed was this aircraft at flight level 28,513. So you've got to ask yourself, what sort of incident, accident, action, deliberate or otherwise, would cause an aircraft to suddenly, literally fall out the sky? And once you move into that realm, you're in a very different area, because you're literally talking about just a few things. You're talking about total failure of the air structure, of the aircraft.
According to Russian state media, a plane matching the description of Yevgeny Prigozhin's, which is a jet, an Embraer jet, has crashed northwest of Moscow. And this is video that has come in, from the Tver region, where you can see this plane just falling out of the sky. And according to observations, it does appear to be missing a wing. I want to bring in retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Layton. Cedric, 26-year career in the Air Force, including much of that as an intelligence officer. What questions are raised for you as you are looking at what are pretty extraordinary pictures that we are getting in here and these details that we are learning?
Yeah, Brianna, I think one of the key things is, what kind of explosion was this? Was this something that, was caused by a missile like, with MH17? Or was it something that happened with an onboard explosion, something that could have been created by a bomb placed on board the aircraft? So that's something that is not quite clear yet based on what we've seen so far. If it's true that a wing was missing as the plane came down, obviously the plane is not airworthy in that situation. And when it comes down like that, it's not something that can fly in a normal pattern, and that would explain the trajectory of the plane as it was moving rapidly toward the ground. So those are key things. And then from more broader perspective, looking at this power struggle that we're, I think, clearly seeing between Putin, Prigozhin, the Wagner elements, all of those things become a key element in what we have to analyze here, why this happened, and then also if in fact Prigozhin is on board this aircraft, and if his second in command is on board, then you get into a situation where the decimation of the Wagner group is something that is clearly coming forward in this case. And I think we're seeing the results of that effort by Putin to get rid of any opposition from at least that sector in his Russian society.
It was just a couple weeks ago that you were predicting that Prigozhin would either be dead or that there would be a second coup by the end of the year. What do you think about the timing here if Putin was behind this?
Well, I mean, again, on the assumption that Putin was behind it, and there seems to be no force in Russia that could have done this outside of Putin's authorization and purview, then the only question is, why did it happen so fast? I mean, the reason why we on this program discussed a couple of weeks ago that Putin must eliminate, neutralize Prigozhin once he called him a traitor, because otherwise he will lose the ability to govern by ruthlessness. The only problem with the timing is that it happened a bit too fast. It happened before Putin was able to essentially destroy the influence of Prigozhin in Africa, destroy the influence of Prigozhin on the remaining Wagner troops. And I think that this has to do exactly with Africa. I mean, in the last week, we saw a lot of escalation of the fight between the Ministry of Defense and Putin and the Kremlin on one hand, and Prigozhin on the other hand, on who will retain control over some of the most lucrative markets in Africa, over Mali, over Central African Republic. In fact, Prigozhin was in Africa the last 2 days, and he was on the way back from Africa trying to retain control over Mali and not to yield control to the Ministry of Defense. And I think it is this escalation of the interest in Africa that precipitated the action against Prigozhin.